Today, I want to talk to you about the predictions for the upcoming month of August 2023. And there's a lot happening this month. In fact, this month, next month, and going into the end of this year is going to be very intense because planets have started going retrograde in the sky. By the time we get to the month of October, there'll be almost 4 planets that are retrograde in the sky. So we'll be talking about all that. You and I will be looking at the chart together and trying to understand what's happening this coming month. And there's a lot that is happening. Before we go any further, if you want to see how these transits affect you, go to my website, www.vedicliving.com. Use my free chart calculator and calculate your chart. That way you can see where your planets are and how the transits in the month of August, the new moon, the full moon, how do these affect you? And we'll also, while you're there at my website, make sure you sign up for my free newsletter because I do send out a lot of predictions at the end of the month for the upcoming month in my newsletter. And that'll have more details compared to what the YouTube video has. So now let's go forward and talk about what are the transits for the month of August. Now, first, before we start, I'm going to share my screen so I can show you the chart. Here we go. Here are the transits for August. We're starting on August 1st. As you know, I use a chart that is based on Washington, D.C. So wherever you are in the world, make sure you do the time conversion to kind of understand what's happening there. Although the chart won't change a whole lot, the moon and the ascendant will be the ones that change. Now, we start off the month, August 1st, with this full moon right here. As you can see, a full moon happens, and I'm just going to quickly show you what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Look at the moon and look at the sun. So they're both exactly at 15 degrees opposing each other. So this is a full moon. On August 1st, we have the full moon happening. Now, what does this full moon mean? First of all, the sun is in Pushya Nakshatra. And Pushya Nakshatra has to do with nourishment. So a lot of times when the full moon happens in this nakshatra, we notice issues with food and agriculture and the distribution of food and the logistics of getting the food to places where it's needed. And as you know, recently we've had the ban on rice from India. And that's just an example of how the food logistics and agriculture can be affected by this particular full moon. But at the same time, remember the full moon is a bright moon. So whatever is happening now will give rise to better ways of doing things in future. There's going to be something good that comes out of this, even though right now it looks like a challenging thing. It's going to ultimately give rise to something really good. Now, with this full moon, if you notice, this is the axis, 15 degrees. You can see the ascendant is at that point, the ascendant is in Libra. And at 15 degrees of Capricorn, the moon is in Shravana Nakshatra. Now, Shravana Nakshatra has to do with hearing. The symbology is the ear. So a very important time at this time during the full moon, if you're setting any intentions, remember to listen to yourself, because this is a time when you have to listen to that inner voice. There's just too much noise outside in the world. There's too much going on with people around you talking, with the media, you could have coworkers or friends. Everybody's saying a lot of things, and there's just creating a lot of noise at this time. With the full moon happening in Shravana Nakshatra, it's really telling us to be mindful and listen to our inner voice before we make any decisions. So this is an important time to set an intention for that. And because it's in sun and the sun is in Pushya Nakshatra, this is a time for nurturing, for spending time with family. It's in Cancer. The sign is Cancer. This is about family and security and spending time with your loved ones. Now, this is a very critical month for the chart of United States. A lot of changes are going on this month, because if I show you right here, this is the US chart. Notice where US moon is. It's at 7 degrees of Aquarius. And notice where the US Saturn is, 24 degrees of Virgo. Two important points you have to remember for the huge changes that are happening this upcoming few months. starting with August. August is actually just kicking off a bunch of events, which is going to culminate in a very big event in the month of September, and I'll tell you why. But along with that, I also want to remind you that this is the Sade Sati for United States in the third house. So what does that mean? Saturn, transiting Saturn in the sky right here, is going to go over United States moon between September and December of this year. So when Saturn comes to around 7 degrees, it's already retrograde, it's moving backwards. And remember my video on the retrogrades, right? The planet is not actually moving backwards. All the planets are always moving forwards. But because the Earth is going faster than that planet, relatively, it looks like it's moving backwards in the ecliptic. So the fact that Saturn is at 11 degrees going retrograde, US moon is at 7 degrees, which means Saturn is going to hit US moon. And that intense time of the Sade Sati is going to be between September and December of this year. This is very important because the Sade Sati is happening in US's third house. Third house deals with media, communications, news, and all kinds of dissemination of information. So this will be questioned. A lot of what we are hearing, what is being told to us is not true. And in reality, the truth is completely different. And people are starting to wake up to this fact, and they're starting to realize this. So with this Sade Sati happening, it's bringing huge changes in the area of news and media for United States. Also, I want to tell you, moon in United States chart, if I go back here, notice what moon rules. It rules the 8th house of finances and money that comes to us from other people, loans that we have borrowed, money that, is owed to others, or it comes to us through others. So this is all about the financial market too. A lot of changes are happening in that area in United States this year, especially between September and December, and then going into next year, because we're still in the kind of shadow phase of that Sade Sati, right? It's not completed yet because Saturn will still be in Aquarius. But the most intense part of the Sade Sati is going to be between September and December of this year. So next month in September, there's going to be a big event. And I'll tell you another reason why I'm saying that. So while the Sade Sati is going on, Saturn is already retrograde. I'm going to move forward to notice where Mars is. Mars is right here, 19 degrees of Leo. I'm going to move to when Mars, right there, around August 20th, 21st, Mars is going to move into Virgo. Now, this means a couple of things. Virgo is the sign that rules health and well-being and mindfulness. And because Mars is moving into Virgo this month, especially from August 20th until Mars is in Virgo, there's going to be a lot of focus around health matters. And there could be at this time a lot of issues around your immunity. There could be problems with, spreading of illness. And this is a time that you should take care of your health under all means. Make sure your diet is fine. Make sure you're protecting yourself against germs, and make sure you're mindful. Because remember, guys, a lot of times all our health problems are connected to our stress levels. And in Ayurveda, they say that health is completely connected to your gut and your stomach. So watch your food, watch your diet, watch your habits of your day-to-day routine. Because remember, when Mars is in Virgo, Virgo is the 6th house in the Kalapurusha chart, in the main chart. And with this being said, it rules the Manipura chakra, right? All the houses are connected to our chakras in the body. So the 6th house is the Manipura chakra, which is where our stomach is located. So this is an important time to assess your health, your eating habits, your diet, your exercise patterns, and watch that. Make sure you're taking your supplements for immunity. Because when Mars is going through Virgo, there could be a health scare, and it could cause problems with the flu and those kind of issues around the world. Okay, so that's important. But what I was trying to show you when I came here is, see, when Mars is going through Virgo, notice US chart. Saturn is in 24 degrees of Virgo. This is important because when Mars crosses over that Saturn in US 10th house, it can cause problems with other countries around the world, because the 10th house in a country's chart deals with its opponents. It deals with the other countries that are, that we are in communication with. So there can be, problems with, information technology kind of attacks, or there could be other kind of attacks that are happening during this time, because Mars rules war. And it's going over US's Saturn in the 10th house of opponents. So this is an important time to watch, okay? And this is going to happen around the end of the month, not right now. It's going to be around, not even the end of the month. It's going to happen in September, but Mars is already in Virgo. So this is a time, like I said, for health and wellness kind of things, right? Be mindful, watch your stress levels. And because the Sadesati is happening in the 3rd house of United States chart, don't believe everything you're seeing on the news or media, because a lot of times the Sadesati can be exposing some flaws in that area. Okay. Now going back to the 16th, right here, we are going to have the new moon. And this is an important new moon. Let me tell you why. August 16th. Watch here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Look at this combination right here. The sun and the moon, 29 degrees. This is a new moon happening in Cancer in the nakshatra Ashlesha. Now, a couple of things are very important about this, okay? One, 29 degrees, or the last few degrees of a water sign like Cancer, is considered Gandhanta. I've talked about Gandhanta in detail in a lot of my videos in the past, but I will also make a separate video on Gandhanta and what it means, so that you have something to go and refer back to. Gandhanta is the last few degrees of a water sign, or the first few degrees of a fire sign. Whenever a planet is Gandhanta, and in Sanskrit, Gandhanta means drowning or losing control. It can literally mean drowning too. If you have planets in the last few degrees of a water sign, Gandhanta, in your chart, it can mean that you have had issues with learning how to swim, or you've had experiences like drowning at some point in your life, okay? But it can also mean figuratively that there's a feeling of being out of control. There's a feeling of losing control. There's a feeling of almost feeling like your things are happening without, you having a say in it. So this feeling is important, because when it's happening in Cancer, that too in the nakshatra Ashlesha, there can be a sense of deception around this, because Ashlesha is the snake. And a lot of times people are being lied to. There's a lot of deception going on in the world. So this is important to remember during this time, because the new moon brings something from the darkness into the light. So there's got to be a lot of things exposed around this time in the month, as to, things that have been said in the past that were not true. And, the reality is coming out now. The truth is being exposed. So remember at this time that, there is a problem where you may be deceived, or there may be some misinterpretation of things being said to you. So that's one thing. Another reason why this is really a difficult new moon is, watch here. We have Uranus at around 29 degrees of Aries. And what is going on between this Uranus and this combination here? It's squaring it, right? It's squaring the new moon. So with the Uranus squaring the new moon, again, it's unexpected. We don't see it. We are getting blindsided by things, sudden unexpected events. That's one thing. Now, another thing is Uranus rules technology too. So there can be things that have to do with technological innovations, which, we are realizing that there are some flaws in it. There are issues with it that needs to be worked on. And those things are coming out. Now, another very important thing that I think is also going to happen is, because it's in a Gandhanta degree in Cancer, the new moon, there will be a lot of storms around the world, because Gandhanta, like I said, it means floods and drowning. So there is hurricanes, storms, all kinds of such weather disturbances happening around the world. So that's another fact to keep in mind, okay, when you're making plans this time. So this is a interesting new moon right here. Great time to set an intention, guys, because Cancer, even if it's Gandhanta, it's still in Cancer. So this is a very moksha related sign. And I think the veil is very thin at this time with the other side. So it's a very good time to learn how to meditate, how to connect with the other side, how to set your intention, manifest something positive for yourself. Because remember, a lot of times, no matter what these planetary energies are around you and what's happening around you, what really matters is what you feel inside, right? Because what we are seeing around us is truly a reflection of what we are feeling inside. That's why in Ayurveda, they say that the gut is important, the diet is important, the stomach is important. Because when you fall sick, you automatically start seeing negative in everything around you, right? So this is a very important time, especially with Mars moving into Virgo and this new moon happening Gandhanta, to really kind of regain that sense of control on your stress levels, on your diet, exercise, mindfulness, and listen to that inner voice. Remember, the full moon is happening in Shravana Nakshatra. It's about listening. Listen to that voice and it'll tell you exactly the right thing to do. Don't listen to the noise around you, okay? Now, another important thing that's happening is around August 20th. There is going to be a yod. Let me explain to you what that is. I'm going to come back here, right here. So August 20th, let's go to August 20th. Notice there's a yod going on here. This is going to be between Pluto, Neptune, and the Sun. Now, a yod, I'll make a separate video on what the yod is, but I'll quickly explain what it means here, just so you know what I'm talking about. A yod happens when there is almost like a triangle formation, but it's basically two planets which are a sextile. Sextile means it's 3 houses away from each other. And then there's one planet that's anchoring it at the same degree point. And that planet is going to be across the chart. So this is basically, it's called the finger of God. And it is a destiny point whenever this happens. It's not a very common thing. But at the same time, with fast moving planets like the Sun and Mars, it can happen pretty commonly. Although I have to tell you, with this August 20th yod, it is a little more intense than usual because it involves Neptune at 2 degrees of Pisces, Pluto at around 4 degrees of Capricorn, and then around 3 degrees we have Sun in Leo. Now, this yod that is being formed is basically being anchored by the Sun. So what does Sun mean when it comes to world predictions? It means governments. It means leadership. So in your personal life, this can mean your boss at work or your manager. So this yod is not a great time to have those conversations where you're talking about things that have to do with your job, or you're talking to people who are in authority positions. This is not a great time because a yod can bring in the effects of the other planets involved. And these are not great planets that are involved. Neptune rules smoky, foggy kind of feeling where things are not clear, you can't see clearly through it. There's deception involved, there is misunderstanding involved. And Pluto, at the end of the day, is destruction. So with the Sun anchoring this particular yod, this is not a great time to have those conversations with people who are in authority positions. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is in world predictions, the Sun does rule world leadership and governments. So this could be when a lot of corruption is happening. Corruption is exposed because remember, Neptune is deception. So those things are getting exposed. And with Pluto being involved, there is control for power that is being sought. There's destruction happening in terms of wanting to regain or gain control on various parts of the world. So this is a little bit of a volatile time. So watch out for this time. The Sun is going to be here probably for a day or two. So once that is over and the Sun moves out of this degree mark, things are going to be much better. But something is going to happen at this time that could cause an event, which will cause worldwide repercussions in terms of leadership and corruption. Okay, So this is an important thing to remember at this time. Now, I think it's going to be the next day, a few days after that, that right here on August 24th, Mercury is going to go retrograde. So remember, when Mercury goes retrograde, even though it goes retrograde on that day, a few days before that, starting from August 20th, it's still in that shadow phase where Mercury is stationed. It stops and then it goes backwards. So when Mercury is stationed, that is a good time to make a lot of decisions regarding your communications, your technology, and all of that. But here's the thing. Once it goes retrograde, it's going to stay retrograde for around 3 weeks. Okay, so it's going to come back into being direct around the 3rd week of September. And we'll talk more about that in the September predictions. But when Mercury goes retrograde, it's not a great time to start new things or start new ideas or kick off a new business or to sign a contract. This is not a great time for that. Mercury retrograde, you have to make full use of it for what it really stands for. And that is for reviewing things in the past. It can bring things back from the past, unfinished business from the past that you have to review and close. And it can also cause you to reassess things that you've done in the past, because what Mercury is trying to tell you at this time is, let's complete all of this work. Let's review, reassess, finish looking at all this and tie it up, and then we'll move forward with the new project. So it can bring some things from the past. So this is a time to reassess, review, and also take rest. Because remember, with Mars has already gone into Virgo by then, and Mercury going retrograde, things will slow down in your life, and that's okay. The reason the planets are doing this is because it wants you to take a step back, relax, take care of your health, take care of your stress levels, and remember that you have to give yourself priority during this very noisy time in the world. So this is a good time to do that. Okay, take a step back and rest at this time. And then once Mercury goes direct, you're going to feel that energy again. Okay, so it will slow you down a bit. And remember, Venus is still retrograde at this time. So that means that past issues and relationships are coming back for you to reassess and review and close out. So those things can still come back with past relationship partners or business partners or family members. Those things that you have not closed in the past, that you kind of left hanging, they'll come back for resolution. So Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Mars and Virgo, it's all telling us the same story, that we need to take care of ourselves more. Okay. Now, those are the predictions for this month. And I just want to once again remind you that this month is starting off, it's kickstarting off a lot of events that's going to culminate in the end of this year. The month of September is the most intense in the year 2023. So the month of August is basically kickstarting a lot of those events. And we can see it already in the way the new moon is positioned and the Uranus is aspecting it and Mars is going into Virgo, and all of those things are happening at the same time. Not to mention, Saturn is already retrograde, Mercury is going retrograde, Venus is retrograde. We are going to have Jupiter going retrograde here soon. Pluto is going to go retrograde. All of these planets are going to be retrograde by the end of the year. So things are really going to slow down, which is okay. Because while these things slow down, it gives us time to reassess where we are. And it gives us time to rest. Because when you rest, you get your energy back. You can take care of yourself more. And when these planets go direct, you have all the energy in the world to start on those projects again. Okay, so take this time and take the time to be mindful. Learn some kind of meditation, transcendental meditation, or some kind of Reiki, anything that can help you connect with yourself and connect with who you are. Listen to that inner voice. Remember the Shravana Nakshatra. Listen to what your body is telling you, to what your mind is telling you, to what your soul is telling you, and be grounded. Because this is going to be a tumultuous time this month, next month, and going into the end of the year. You'll see a lot of things in the news, a lot of events happening. But what really matters is the peace that you find within you, because that will help raise the mass consciousness and bring peace in the world. So we can only do our part which is take care of ourselves. So remember to find that peace within you and connect and be grounded within you. This too shall pass. With that, this is the predictions for the month of August. I'm going to come back with sign-by-sign predictions for the month of August, since it is a very critical time. I want to do sign-by-sign predictions. So I hope you come back and listen to that.